Hi, welcome to Finding the Word. I'm Melanie Brown, and the word today is sand. We took the little guys to the beach, Lena and I did, and had a good time. We had not been in a while. They loved going. And while we're there, of course, we have to remark on all the beauty around us and the peace. It was a little cooler than we thought it was going to be, or than I thought it was going to be. It had been pretty warm, and I was thinking it was still going to be warm, but the temperature had dropped. It's all over the place this time of the year, up and down. So it ended up the babies got in the water. We call them the babies. I think I've told you before because it's the bottom three children in the family. And they got in and then got out and really got cool. So even though they had their towels, they were wishing they had not got in. Sand was all stuck to them and they were cold. So they wanted to go home quicker than we did. We were like, if we had not brought them, we would have been still sitting there enjoying the breeze with the little blankets and things over our feet and legs. And it was wonderful. But we were also talking about the sand. As far as the eye can see is sand, and it's soft and provides endless hours of entertainment with digging and burying and just having a good time. But it does get in everything. Even when we got all the way home, we were finding little bits of sand while we were eating our lunch, and sand is everywhere. They could not wait to get back and take a shower and rinse off that sand. I was excited to see what sand was going to bring about. There's 3 different places in the scripture that I found for sand. We're going to start with Matthew. It's chapter 7, verse 26. I'm reading 24 through 29. Anyone who listens to my teaching and follows it is wise, like a person who builds a house on solid rock. Though the rain comes in torrents and the floodwaters rise and the winds beat against that house, it won't collapse because it is built on bedrock. But anyone who hears my teaching and doesn't obey it is foolish, like a person who builds a house on sand. When the rain and floods come and the winds beat against that house, it will collapse with a mighty crash. When Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teaching, for he taught with real authority, quite unlike their teachers of religious law. Couple of things here. We were talking about how useful the sand is and how nice it is to enjoy and run through your fingers and all of that. But you don't want to build your house on that. You don't want to depend upon it when it comes to a firm foundation. It is constantly sinking. If you go out and stand even in the parts of the water that are shallow and let the waves rush up, you'll notice that it moves, it shifts. That sand is going to be gone from underneath your feet. We know that what this is saying to us, when the rains and floods come and the winds, these are the things in life. These are the things that come against us that at times can be very difficult to withstand. And for some, they collapse. They lose all the faith that they believe they had. It was not built on a firm foundation. We not only have to hear the teachings, we have to hear and obey. And then we will be wise, building on a firm foundation so that it can withstand when the tests of life come along. The other part is that he was teaching with a real authority. And it says quite unlike the teachers of religious law. So just talking about the law, just sharing the information, there was a lack of authority that they had. And so I looked at the word authority so we can really see what this fully means when it's saying this.
Strong's G, 1849, exousia. Exousia.
So the usage of this authority is physical and mental power, which he either possesses or exercises. It's the power of authority and of right and privilege. It's the power of rule or government. The power of him whose will and commands must be submitted to by others and obeyed. It's authority over mankind. The power of judicial decisions, of authority to manage domestic affairs. It is a thing subject to authority or rule, one who possesses that authority, a ruler, a human magistrate. It is also the sign of regal authority, a crown. So this is the authority that Christ spoke with that was immediately recognized, and recognized that not just because you're teaching, not just because you're stating what all the rules are. That is not walking in the authority. That's not having the authority of Christ. We have to be on the lookout for just religious laws being taught. The second scripture is Hebrews 11:12 and reading 8 through 16. It was by faith that Abraham obeyed when God called him to leave home and go to another land that God would give him as his inheritance. He went without knowing where he was going. And even when he reached the land God promised him, he lived there by faith, for he was like a foreigner living in tents, and so did Isaac and Jacob, who inherited the same promise. Abraham was confidently looking forward to a city with eternal foundations, a city designed and built by God. It was by faith that even Sarah was able to have a child. Though she was barren and was too old, she believed that God would keep his promise. And so a whole nation came from this one man who was as good as dead, a nation with so many people that, like the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore, there is no way to count them. All these people died still believing what God had promised them. They did not receive what was promised, but they saw it all from a distance and welcomed it. They agreed that they were foreigners and nomads here on earth. Obviously, people who say such things are looking forward to a country they can call their own. If they had longed for the country they came from, they could have gone back. But they were looking for a better place, a heavenly homeland. That is why God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. So from the beginning, we see by faith that Abraham obeyed God when called. We need to, by faith, obey God when called. We don't have to see where we're going. We don't have to know where we are. And when we get there, it doesn't have to be super comfortable for us the whole time. It is enough to stay in the will of the Father. And that is what Abraham was doing, living in tents. Isaac and Jacob inherited the same promise. And so he was in confidence. He didn't just think, well, maybe it's going to turn out. Maybe it's going to work out. There was a confidence looking forward to the city with eternal foundations. He knew this was a city designed and built by God, and he was fine with waiting for it. He died before he was able to even receive that promise, and that was okay with him. He saw it that it was at a distance, but he still welcomed it. God had promised he would have a nation so many that you could not count. We can still trust God for all of the promises, whether it's something we get to see or not. We know he still keeps his promises. We're looking forward to those promises. We're not looking back. We're not going back. It says if they had longed for the country that they came from, then they could have gone back there. We don't want to go back to the former things. We want to look forward to what God has coming for us in full belief. They were looking for a better place. Heavenly homeland, the place that they know that God prepared for them. And we too are looking for the place that we know that God has prepared for us. And then the last passage is Psalms. This is going to be David in chapter 139, verse 18. And I am reading 13 through 18. You made all the delicate inner parts of my body and knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it. You watched me as I was being formed in utter seclusion. As I was woven together in the dark of the womb, you saw me before I was born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. How precious are your thoughts about me, O God? They cannot be numbered. I can't even count them. They outnumber the grains of sand. And when I wake up, you are still with me. What a beautiful passage to end on. Just knowing the thoughts that God has about us, knowing that he has woven us, that he had plans for us before we ever got here, that he loved us and had precious thoughts toward us and about us that cannot even be numbered. And coming from the beach and seeing all that sand and talking about how vast it is and how mind-blowing it is mind-blowing to think about the wonderful thoughts that God has about us, and that when we wake up, he is still with us. So we'll be going back soon taking the little guys back to the beach on a warmer day so they can enjoy themselves. And every time I go, it's going to be a reminder of the thoughts God has, of the promise to Abraham for the number of descendants that he has, and also that we are not just hearing the word, but we are hearing and obeying, so that we are building on a firm foundation and not a foundation of sand. Don't forget to find the word. I will see you soon.